I've got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me. So deep in my heart, you're really a part of me. I've got you under my skin. I tried so not to give in, and I said to myself, this affair, it ain't gonna go so well. But why should I try to resist when, baby, I know so well that I've got you under my skin. I'd sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near. In spite of a warning voice, it comes in the night and repeats in my ear. Don't you know, little fool, you never can win. Use your mentality, wake up to reality. Each time I do, just the thought of you makes me stop before I begin, because I've got you under my skin. Go. Go. Oh. Anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near. In spite of a warning voice, it comes in the night and repeats in my ear. Don't you know, little fool, you're never gonna win. Why not use your mentality, wake up, step up to reality. But each time I do, just the thought of you makes me stop right before I begin, because I've got you under my skin. And you grab me under my skin, and I love you under my skin. We got one more? We can do one more? Oh, let's go right to the moon, buddy. Bonus song. Fly me to the moon. Let me play amongst the stars. Let me see what life is like on Jupiter or Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song. Let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. While you're watching at home, Mr. Ron Poster, the organist of your Boston Bruins. Fill my me sing forevermore, because you are all I long for, all I worship and I adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to A Night with the Arts for FTD, our 6th annual Gala and patient-centered art show to benefit the clinical research program in the Massachusetts General Hospital Frontal Temporal Disorders Unit. My name is Katie Brandt. I'm the Director of Caregiver Support Services and Public Relations, your Gala Planning Co-Chair, and your MC for the evening. I feel overwhelmed with emotion as I come to you live from Giro Studios in Cambridge. The FTD Unit is a clinical research program committed to providing the highest quality of care while we search tirelessly for a cure for frontal temporal degeneration, primary progressive aphasia, atypical and young onset Alzheimer's disease, and related disorders. Our interdisciplinary team is proud to count 13 years of care and over 600 patients and families served. More than ever, we see the impact of our services reaching beyond our clinic and into the community, building and strengthening connections with families. Many of you watching from home tonight have received Gala sponsor party boxes, our printed program book, brain wine charms, and MGH-shaped chocolates made especially for us from Harbor Sweets. None of this could have been possible without a team effort. I want to thank my Gala co-chair, Amy Almeida, our director, Dr. Brad Dickerson, our clinical research team, and every person living with a diagnosis, care partner, and family that showed up for this event, reminding us that community isn't canceled. Tonight is about raising awareness, funds, and hope that the cure of tomorrow is not so far from the care of today. You can contribute to our Gala fundraising goals by making a donation at any time at our Gala fundraising website, because.massgeneral.org/FTD Gala 2020. You just heard Rich Jamer and his band. Rich was singing his heart out to open our gala, and he's generously offered to provide an incentive to our fundraising goals that we'll hear more about later. So let's continue this celebration. I hope that everybody at home has champagne or the bubbly of your choice to raise high. And I'm going to turn it over now for a message from our hospital leadership.
So hello, everyone. My name is Peter Slavin, and I'm the president of Mass General Hospital, and it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you to this gala in support of our FTD program and its clinical research component. I hope you're all healthy and well, and thank you for joining us virtually for this event. This has certainly been a remarkable stretch in the history of Mass General Hospital. We've cared for more COVID-19 patients than any other hospital in the area. But fortunately, the numbers compared to the spring are down significantly, and we have our fingers crossed that they won't go up significantly again. I want to thank you all for supporting Dr. Dickerson and his team for all the wonderful work they do caring for patients and families with FTD and advancing the field through their research. I also know that during this time of pandemic, they have also pivoted pretty miraculously to be able to provide many services virtually rather than in person. They have created virtual group visits and a virtual webinar series that I hope have been helpful to many of you. Philanthropy has always been important to programs like this FTD program and Mass General in general, but never more so than during this time of pandemic when our resources have been sort of jostled by the impact of the pandemic and are stretched pretty thin. Philanthropy allows us to continue to pursue what we do with excellence and with the ability to pursue innovative activities. So I want to thank you all for supporting Dr. Dickerson and his colleagues. This is really an important program. I know many of you have benefited personally from it. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your interest in what Dr. Dickerson and his team do. And I hope you have a wonderful event and a wonderful gala. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Merit Sikovich, Chief of the Department of Neurology at Mass General Hospital. Thank you all for joining us tonight and supporting Mass General, Dr. Brad Dickerson, and his amazing team in their efforts to solve the challenges of FTD, Alzheimer's disease, and other dementias. Celebrating certainly looks different this year. I know Brad and his team, and I'm sure many of you, look forward to this evening as an opportunity to celebrate life, include our friends and loved ones in the shared mission that means so much to us, and to inspire and fund the next wave of cutting-edge research. The impact of the pandemic has been vast. Our dedicated physicians, nurses, and staff at Mass General have been committed to providing the best possible care to our patients. In March, when the pandemic began threatening the safety of our patients and clinicians, thousands of our patients had their in-person appointments shifted to virtual visits. By May, more than 90% of the appointments scheduled would take place by phone or video. Dr. Dickerson and his amazing team were at the forefront of this transition. They lost no time pivoting their weekly support groups to virtual meetings and establishing a weekly webinar series with guest speakers to touch upon the most pressing concerns of patients and their families. They did everything possible to continue the research so that there was no lost time or opportunity. I've been so inspired by their efforts, and they are a role model for our other divisions. The way that they reached out to their patients, the families, and the research participants was really, I was awestruck by it. And it was the way every division should do it. It's the strength of our communities and our commitment to each other that will help us navigate these difficult days and find solutions that we need and to keep the progress moving forward for our patients. Thank you for inspiring us to best serve our patients and the mission during these challenging times. I'm so glad that we found new ways to come together and to feel united in our shared goals. I wish you a successful evening, making a difference in the lives of those affected with FTD. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brad Dickerson, Director of the Frontotemporal Disorders Unit at Massachusetts General Hospital. I want to thank you all for participating tonight, even if we're all regretting that we can't be together. I especially want to thank Giro's and the studio where we are. We're all very much practicing social distancing and wearing masks and doing everything we can to be as safe as possible in bringing this program to you. I have some sad news that I have to share with you tonight. It breaks my heart to let everyone know that this week we lost our beloved Sybil Sermos on Tuesday when she died suddenly from a brain hemorrhage. Her obituary is in the Boston Globe today if you want to read it. I've known Sybil and her husband Kemon for more than 7 years. As many of you know, Kemon is a patient in our community. You saw a picture of him earlier. I'll never forget the day in March 2015 when Sybil and Kemon came to our clinic for a checkup at the end of our visit. Sybil reminded me that as artists, both lifelong artists, they are connected with a large community of artists and would love to do something like an art show to benefit our program. Those were the seeds of the idea for the first of what is now our 6th annual Evening of the Arts for FTD. Katie Brandt took that idea and sprinted with it, putting together that first amazing event in only 6 months. Sybil was a guiding force in all of our planning and in the night itself, weaving the power and grace of her optimistic spirit into what we love as a joyous celebration of our special community. As sad as many of you feel about seeing the pictures of your loved ones who are suffering from these diseases or who have passed, I think we all feel the special power of coming together as a community to fight back against these diseases. Sybil was a woman with amazing combinations of qualities, at once kind, generous, and welcoming, and yet fierce and bold. And she would just light up every room she walked into, and what style she had. I'll never forget her. We hope that tonight and future galas embody the spirit of Sybil, who was well known for saying that art is everywhere if one looks around. Sybil, we honor you tonight by dedicating the 2020 gala to you. We want you and your family to know how much we will miss you, but that we will carry you in our hearts forever. Thank you, Sybil.
When I said to Dr. Dickerson, I think you should let us have an art show and we'll raise money for research. And that's how it started. And I'm not bragging. I just know that I've done something good. And if you do something good, then you have to have a good feeling and a good day. And I don't think anybody should expect too much more.
I'm Rick.
And I'm Andrea.
And we have the great privilege of being featured artists in a duet that we're going to play for you.
Rick's now late wife was also a dear friend of mine. And one of the most kind of meaningful times we had during her illness, I helped her do some watercolor paintings because she definitely had a visual interest to her as well as all her music. And she and I shared that love.
As musicians, we feel that the arts, whether musical or visual, are the most profound way to connect with humans. And it doesn't matter what state of brain you have for that connection.
I am Sybil Sermos, and I'm happy to be a featured artist. Yeah, it used to be realistic, semi-realistic, abstract flowers. I love nature. When I met Dr. Dickerson, I asked for x-rays because I found the brain to be a very interesting thing. That's when I started to do the paintings, the abstract paintings. My husband, Kemon Sermos, is also very happy to be a featured artist. Everyone from a 3-year-old to a 110-year-old person can understand what it is. It's there, it's visual, it's entertaining.
My name is Michael Bellville, and I am a featured artist. Painting gave me a sense of calm, if you will. The other thing it's given me is that when I give someone a painting, I feel like I'm giving them a part of myself, giving them a memory of, hopefully they'll look at that painting and say, oh, Mike painted that for me. It's just given me that sense of purpose.
My name is Maria Kent Fears, and my mother, Leah Kent, is a featured artist this year. My mother described herself as a mixed media artist. She focused on using household items and junk, as she would call it, around the house to make her art. And she was known in the art community as Art Junk Girl. Our mother taught us that art and art journaling was an incredible tool for managing our stress. And I love that we have this gift of her art because it just reminds us of who she was before FTD.
Elizabeth Rock, and I'm a featured artist. My art is almost entirely editorial. I work for newspapers and magazines, and drawing has been part of me forever. I don't remember a time when I wasn't drawing. So since I'm struggling with my vision, I find it very hard to give up my pen and ink, but other things have come up along that never occurred to me before. My cast of characters who stay with me have installed a big whiteboard for me in the kitchen. So, and that allows me to have a much greater range of off-the-cuff, instantaneous kind of thoughts. You don't have the anxiety of making a mistake because you can immediately erase it and start over. And that's been dizzying for me. So, I'm very stubborn about changing my ways. So if I can do it, anyone can.
My name is Carol Procter, and I'm a featured artist. I've been all kinds of artists. I've been a cellist. I make collages. I'm a photographer. Well, there are different styles of art, certainly. There's the visual art, and then there's music, which is a great way to express beauty. For me, that's the key, is expressing beauty. Beauty is what uplifts people. And that's what we try to do. So I decided I would write a series called the Alzheimer's series. The first one in the series is my impression of what it's like to be inside my brain, from the inside out. It's actually a beautiful place. It's all kind of pretty little things swimming around, and looks good from the inside. So many daydreams, possibilities, past, present, future, and memories, and regrets. Here I am, creating my future in every moment. What kind of life am I carving out for myself? What is emerging from my mind? I thank God for friends. I see their smiles, that their smiles still exist clear and strong, filled with love.
Every moment at the gala is touching my heart more than the next. That featured artist video is so moving. Amy Almeida and I had the joy of creating it with the wonderful team here at Giro Studio, and I had the privilege of interviewing each of our artists. And I remember leaving the interview with Sybil just feeling so inspired by her resilience and so grateful to be in her circle of love. Sybil was an incredible mentor to me, and I will miss her dearly, as will Noah. Sybil's family, I'm sharing with you my most heartfelt sympathies, love, and support at this time. And now it is my pleasure to turn it over to a message from leadership in Massachusetts, Senator Ed Markey, and CEO and President of the Massachusetts Biotech Council, Bob Coughlin.
Thank you, Mass General. Thank you for everything you do to fight Alzheimer's. It's at Mass General that my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. It was Mass General that was the hospital, the great medical geniuses that helped my father to navigate through keeping my mother in the living room for 12 years in Malden. So I know this disease all too well. And I know right now that 5 million families have someone with Alzheimer's in it right now. And if we don't find a cure, there will be 15 million baby boomers who contract Alzheimer's by the time all of them have retired. So failure is not an option. In the 1960s, the challenge was a mission to the moon. In the 21st century, the challenge is a mission to the mind in order to find the clues that can unlock the mysteries of the brain so that we can find a cure for Alzheimer's. And we're going to need clinical trials because research is medicine's field of dreams from which we harvest the findings that give hope to families that a cure will be possible. So that's why I founded the Alzheimer's Caucus in Congress, which now has more than 200 members a year after my mother passed away. That's why I passed the law that requires NIH to give to Congress every single year the amount of money they need in order to find a cure by the year 2025. Last year, it was $2.8 billion additional dollars. Ultimately, that program, which I created, will spend $30 billion on research, medical research, by the year 2025 to find a cure. So I can't thank all of you enough for everything that you do on this issue. This is a question, ultimately, of American leadership, American clinical research leadership, American basic research to find the cure, to give the help to every single family. Families are heroes, but heroes need help. And ultimately, the federal government has to provide it. So thank you, Mass General, for being a leader. I will be with you there all the way, shoulder to shoulder, fighting this battle until families have children or grandchildren and have to look to the history books to find that there ever was such a disease as Alzheimer's. Thank you all so much, and congratulations on all the great work you do all year long.
Hi, I'm Bob Coughlin, President and CEO of MassBio. At MassBio, improving patient lives is at the center of everything that we do. We're proud to share this mission with the Frontotemporal Disorders Unit at the Massachusetts General Hospital. On behalf of MassBio, I would like to congratulate patient advocates, research participants, and citizen scientists for moving us closer to a cure for devastating conditions such as Alzheimer's disease, FTD, and related dementias. Together, we can make sure the cure of tomorrow is not far from the care of today. Thank you so much for all that you do. None of this would be possible without you.
Bob Coughlin and Senator Markey, you bring the energy. Your authentic, passionate voices are so inspiring. Thank you so much for your efforts and your support. Speaking of support from Boston, some of you may have noticed that the Zakim Bridge was lit up MGH blue for us last Friday night. This photo was actually taken by our own Amy Almeida, who wanted to make sure that we had authentic footage of Boston shining so brightly for us. And tonight, Government Center is lit up for us. You know, these messages of support from the city are so important. And they make me think about how important those shining lights are. I was reminiscing a little bit, and I came across a really adorable photo of Noah that I want to share with all of you. He's such a big kid now, but to see him in his little orange baseball cap and backpack. This photo was taken 4 years ago on a summer clinic day. It was a day that Noah did not have summer camp, but I was scheduled to work in the clinic with Dr. Dickerson and our team. And so Noah and I hopped on the Red Line, and he spent the day in MGH Child Care on the first floor of the main building, while I worked in clinic on the 8th floor of Wang. And at the end of my day, I picked Noah up and we went across the street to Antonio's to share some spaghetti and meatballs. As we came out of Antonio's, it was twilight and all the lights were coming on, street lights. It was so busy, lots of cars, and you know, the hospital, MGH, is right there, glowing like a beacon right across the street. And Noah said to me, "Mom, clinic is over. Why are there still so many people at the hospital?" And I said to him, "Well, yes, Noah, our clinic day is over, but there are still many people working. The hospital is always open. Even in the middle of the night, the darkest part of the night, there are people there at the ready to help when you need it. It never closes. A blizzard, get your snowshoes. An emergency, our badges all give us disaster pass access. The hospital is always there." During this time of pandemic, your team in the MGH FTD unit has always been there for you. We've had to pivot. We've had to change the way we do things. We all had to become Zoom savants. But what we heard more than ever was that community and the connections we had were not bound by the walls of clinic or of support group, or even by the gorgeous ballroom at the Royal Sonesta. What mattered was that we could connect with one another, share our fears, our challenges, our hopes, and that was what kept our community strong and resilient. There is one person during this time of pandemic that has been a light in our community. Amy Almeida has run weekly support groups. She has helped me brainstorm scheduling and topics for our Community Forum Friday webinars. She has been a solid rock of compassion, love, and kindness every day. She has been my #1 Gala gal. I could not have put this together without her. And so that is why this year we honor Amy Almeida with the 2020 Gala Award. For her compassion, guidance, and support to caregivers, tireless organization of programs, creative solutions to critical challenges, and leading with love as a beacon in the dark of pandemic. Noah, would you come and stand next to me, please? And Amy, as I put on my mask, will you please come and receive your award as our 2020 Gala recipient? Okay, Noah, you can go and stand over there.
Thank you, Katie. I don't think I'd be here without your example that you set when I was a caregiver. I went to support group when you were the facilitator and was amazed that you could do all you were doing. I thought if I was in Katie's shoes, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. But I did.
But we did. We're both out of bed.
We're both out of bed. We're both in fancy clothes. We're not wearing our pajamas.
We're not wearing our pajamas.
You've really set an example for me, from being a support group facilitator to being a Gala co-chair and just being part of this community and trying to show the compassion to other caregivers that I received when I was a caregiver myself. So thank you. And thank you to Brad. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the great care that you gave our mom.
We're so happy, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so, everyone, I'm thrilled that we were able to give that award to Amy, and that my mask was at the ready so that we could stand next to each other for that important moment. And now it's time to turn it over to our director and our fearless leader. Thank you. Brad Dickerson is the director of the Massachusetts General Hospital Frontotemporal Disorders Unit and Neuroimaging Lab in Boston. He is also a staff behavioral neurologist in the MGH Memory Disorders Unit, co-investigator on the neuroimaging core of the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, and a professor of neurology at Harvard Medical School. Dr. Dickerson runs a busy clinic caring for patients with various forms of cognitive impairment and dementia, as well as providing training for clinical and research fellows. His research employs neuroimaging techniques to investigate dementias as well as normal aging. He has published more than 100 articles in peer-reviewed scientific journals, as well as many book chapters, and has edited 2 books on dementia. He has won a number of awards, and in 2016, he was honored as the inaugural recipient of the Tom Rickles Endowed Chair for Primary Progressive Aphasia Research. More than his accolades and titles, Brad is a compassionate leader. Since the beginning of pandemic, Brad has sent our team a welcome message each morning. As we log into our computers each day, we know that we will hear from Brad with a message of positivity, encouragement, and requests for photos of the things that spark joy in our lives. Brad shared stories about his own life, everything from the blooming of flowers in his yard to recipes he enjoyed with his family, and even updates on neighborhood home renovations or local wildlife. He showed up at virtual happy hours, texted funny emojis, and encouraged water cooler chats at the beginning of lab meetings. He acknowledged us not only as the awesome professional team that we are, but also as fellow friends and community members united during a time of crisis. This example of leading with kindness and empathy will leave an imprint on our hearts and make us better professionals and humans. Saying thank you is not enough to express our gratitude. Brad, we hope you know how much we appreciate you and all that you give to our team and community. And so it is my great honor to welcome our fearless leader, Dr. Brad Dickerson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being with us tonight. I want to first start by saying that October 16th is a special day in our family because it was my father's birthday, and this would have been his 92nd birthday. We all wish he could be here observing, but think about him anyway. And it's special in not such a good way because Monday, March 16th, exactly 7 months ago from today, we entered the world of working from home. Friday, March 13th, we went home from the office having no idea that we were going to be spending anything more than a couple of weeks working from home, and here we are 7 months later. So I couldn't be sadder to not be in the room at the Royal Sonesta with you all tonight and enjoying the art show as we have in past years, walking shoulder to shoulder with patients and families and loved ones and members of our community. But I'm happy that we didn't cancel it. So many things in our lives have been canceled because of this terrible pandemic. And thank you to Katie and Amy and Jiro and everyone who made sure that we didn't have to cancel this year's event and we can be together even if it's in this way. I also want to thank the many leaders who sent messages of support that you just heard earlier. And of course, all of you for your contributions and donations, which really make this event possible and of course, feel like a real community. That's why we do this. So thanks to everyone for your participation, your hard work, to Rich and others for the beautiful music that they are contributing to tonight's program, to our featured artists, and all of the artists that have made the Evening of the Arts for FTD such an amazingly moving tribute to our patients and families and the community that continue to soldier on despite these terrible illnesses. I want to also extend a real special appreciation to the FTD Unit team. Our team has blown me away by your resilience to the pandemic and our ability to pivot quickly. We had already been talking a lot about ways to make use of telehealth and other remote assessment methods to make our clinical expertise and our research programs more accessible to everyone and to make it possible so that we could keep closer tabs on people because we know that coming in once every 6 months or sometimes even once a year is just not enough to keep tabs on the many things that are changing in people's lives when they live with these illnesses. So we've been working on those methods and we were able to quickly scale up some of those efforts so that we could roll out clinic without much interruption at all to new patients and to existing patients so that we could follow up from a safe distance and do everything we could to help them diagnose, monitor, and develop care plans for their illnesses and the ways their illnesses were affecting their lives. So the clinicians and the scientists in the MGH FTD unit really have worked tirelessly in support of staying connected with you and trying to figure out creative ways to maintain and resume our clinical and research operations and to extend their reach beyond what we were able to do before. And I'm happy to say that we're beginning to bring people in for scans and other very carefully selected procedures that have to be done in person with the most extensive safety protocols in place that we could develop. So we're cautiously emerging from the radio silence of the in-person visits that we've had for the most part for the last 7 months, and I'm optimistic that we'll be able to do so safely and make whatever accommodations we need to make in order to keep everybody safe and connected. Another thing that I'm really proud of is the work that Katie and our care and support team have been able to do, along with many of you in the community as well, in facilitating ways to keep people connected and feel supported from their homes, but with each other in ways that are safe but meaningful. And that has gone on in an unparalleled way with both care and support activities that are making a meaningful difference in people's lives, and also a growing arm of research in our program that is trying to study elements of advanced care planning and caregiver stress and related issues. And in one of the research operations that I'm particularly proud of, our team was able to move from the idea to the execution of a COVID-related advanced care planning remote study in an unprecedented time frame, really breaking all of the laws of physics, in a sense, in terms of how research operations move forward. So I couldn't be prouder of the data that have been collected and of the connections that have been made and of the support that our community has felt because of the efforts of Katie and her program and members of our community who are not formally part of the FTD unit, but whose dedication is unparalleled to our goals. And of course, our team could not be the dedicated, talented, passionate clinicians and scientists they are without the support of their families. Many of our team members were able to stay connected physically with their families during this time, and many felt the kind of support that they needed in order to continue doing this work. And I want to say, in particular on my part, I want to thank my mom and my wife, Allie, and our daughters, Molly and Lily, for all of their amazing resilience during this terrible time. Thank you. Now I have the pleasure of giving you a little insight into some of what makes us so excited to be doing the work that we're doing. I'll just remind us of our mission. The mission of the FTD unit is to provide interdisciplinary care, treatment, and support to maximize patients' and families' quality of life, number one. Number two, to educate the current and next generation of healthcare professionals about FTD, atypical Alzheimer's disease, and related conditions. And number three, to pursue research to bring us closer to a cure for these conditions. We've educated a lot of clinicians and scientists over the years, and this is really the next generation of people that has already gone forth internationally and started their own programs and contributed to others' programs. So I'm very happy that we've got a strong track record here. And many of you have interacted with those trainees either in clinic or in research visits. In terms of care and support today, we've been pretty busy over the last year. In the past year, I've been working as the co-chair of a Alzheimer's Association-sponsored work group to develop new clinical practice guidelines for the diagnostic evaluation of patients with FTD, Alzheimer's disease, and related disorders. And we're very excited to be bringing that to a close and getting ready to spread the word. And many of you have participated in some of those discussions with the three-step diagnostic formulation that we've been rolling out over the last few years. Tau PET in May was approved by the FDA. Unfortunately, that's not yet a type of PET scan that's useful for the FTD type of tau. We're still working on those. But it is useful and now approved for the Alzheimer's type of tau. And it's remarkable that moved forward to approval by the FDA. It's going to take a while for that to roll out as something that's available, but many of you have participated in studies in our research program that have shown us the remarkable power of being able to detect that molecular pathology in the brain of living people. I talked already a little bit about remote multidisciplinary assessments, but we're perfecting methods that will really take advantage of some cutting-edge ways of measuring people's language, emotional behavior, memory, and other aspects of their functioning that we're going to continue to study and bring into clinical practice. We've been improving our ability to prognosticate, to make predictions at an individual level about things that are likely possible to happen to a person or may likely not happen to the person, and how to use those in care planning, and how to study the way we give that information to people. We've also developed remote support groups that have really been a pillar of the treatment that Katie and our team have been able to deliver to people every week. And Community Forum Fridays, that's been a wonderful way to connect with the community. And really a lot of these efforts are dependent on philanthropy. The medical healthcare system doesn't pay for some of these kinds of things, whether they're care or the seeds of research. And so it's really through your contributions that we're able to make these kinds of advances and bring them from the idea stage to the stage of being able to execute them. And I want to just do a little whirlwind on our research. So this is research that involves measuring and quantifying some of the symptoms that people have, whether they're cognitive or behavioral. I'll mention briefly our PASS scale. We also have a scale measuring the impairment of social behavior. We also have a variety of quantitative, structural, functional, and molecular imaging technologies that I'll touch on. And then biofluids, there's increasing interest in being able to measure protein abnormalities or genetic abnormalities in not only cerebrospinal fluid, but also blood and other tissues from the body. And then multi-center longitudinal observational and biomarker studies. All FTD is covering the different types of FTD. LEADS covers early onset AD. Fortney covers PSP and CBD, other conditions that are related to FTD. And the NAC, the National Alzheimer's Coordinating Center, is a multi-center study across the United States that we're part of. So all of these are programs that involve our coordination of efforts with the efforts of other centers like us around the country and even beyond. And there are a number of other studies related to drug trials and treatment studies that are being planned. We've had to put a lot of that on hold during the pandemic, but the plans are going to be emerging pretty soon to be bringing those out. And then, of course, research studies of caregiver interventions and care planning that I mentioned earlier that have really been progressing at a rapid rate in our program. So all of these were ideas that were leveraged from initial pilot experience, like with our caregiver intervention studies that were supported by seed funds from philanthropy, to obtain, in that case, a 5-year National Institute on Aging funded project to study a caregiver educational program to improve decision-making and care planning. So this is really one example of many of how we take the kinds of money that are being donated tonight and use it, apply it directly to new ideas for research and care planning, and ultimately aim to scale all those up into studies or care programs that are supported by larger agency funding from the federal government or foundations. I'm not going to go through all of the details on our research for a cure, except to say that we're covering scales to measure symptoms, imaging to measure changes in brain structure and function, imaging and other biomarkers to measure changes in molecules in the brain, and laboratory models to understand disease mechanisms and then screen treatments and ultimately bring them into trials. So I'll just touch on a couple of high points from here. Many of you know Dr. Eldife in our program, who used to sit unmasked in an office and do a neurologic exam on patients, just like I did and others of our clinicians would do, in what seems like it's a world away from us right now. And so we're really having to figure out how to do those kinds of assessments using video or other technology while we wait for this type of interaction to become safe again. But I think we're able to do this, and we're studying data that we've collected that validate our ability to do this in a way that is very similar to what we can do in person. And I'm very proud of those efforts that have gone into this by members of our team, including Shaz Henderson and Emily Lawyer and others who have been at the front lines of delivering these kinds of methods in our patients and families. The Progressive Aphasia Severity Scale is a scale that we've developed now more than 10 years ago that is being used by people around the world to measure the types and severity of symptom impairments in people with language disorders. That's something that we've continued to be able to use through remote assessments. And finally, I want to just briefly touch on brain systems. So when I'm standing here speaking and you're listening, normally the areas in red and yellow are active in most of our brains, and that represents the brain systems that are important for language. But down on the bottom, it's remarkable to see in a patient with primary progressive aphasia, as one example of this kind of situation, where the brain's language network is damaged early on, and that's shown in blue, where the shrinkage is in people with primary progressive aphasia in terms of shrinkage of those parts of the brain. So sometimes at the beginning, these conditions can affect people in a remarkably specific way, and we think that at least in some cases, that is due to proteins in the brain, like this image of tau protein being aggregated in the brain, measured from a PET scan on the left, and then 1 year later showing the progression of that pathology as the patient's symptoms progress. So these are just short examples of some of the research that we've been doing that allow us to measure at an unprecedented level of detail the kinds of changes that are going on in people's brains and relate those changes to what's happening to people in terms of their symptoms. Finally, I want to just turn to the collaborative nature of all of these studies. You can see in the upper right of this map the Massachusetts General Hospital as part of the all FTD sites around the country and extending up into Canada that are working together to advance our understanding of FTD. We've got similar maps for the other multi-center studies that I showed earlier, including the LEADS Young Onset Alzheimer's study and the studies that I mentioned before. So it's really through collaborations like that that we truly scale up the work that we do at our own center to be work that can be done at many centers across the country and even the world as we move toward developing treatments. All of this research depends on people like you to participate, whether it's through contributions financially or whether it's through participation in research. And I can't thank you enough for being as flexible as you've been to say yes to the requests that we've made to you to participate in various kinds of remote assessments that help us understand more about how you are experiencing the symptoms of these conditions in your daily life and your loved one. Together, I believe that we really can win the fight against dementia, and we're making tremendous progress on it already. We just have to keep going because it's going to happen. We're going to conquer these diseases in the not too distant future, and I'm confident that together we'll be able to do this. Thank you very much for your attention, and I appreciate everyone's participation tonight and your interest in fighting these diseases and helping us with our work. Be well, everyone.
Yeah, it's just been so incredible, and every dollar to me is another voice in the fight against these devastating diseases. And we're so grateful for everyone's support. And we're grateful for people telling us how much they love our community events.
Yes.
And the opportunity to make new memories of joy. We are so thankful for the support of everybody who talked to us about the moments at past galas that gave them hope, the moments where they made new memories. One caregiver shared in our gala promo video, if you saw it, that he said the last time he danced with his wife was at one of our galas. It has given us a way to honor what is creative, what is positive, what is forward moving about our community. And it's also been a lot of fun. I love the art. I love hearing the stories from everyone, and I love feeling connected. So we hope that you are ready to put on your dancing shoes, maybe set down that glass of champagne, and get ready for one more surprise this evening.
Join us? Hey, pretty baby with the high heels on, you give me fever like I never known. You're just a product of loveliness. I like the groove of your walk, your talk, your dress. I feel your fever from miles around. I pick you up in my car, we'll paint the town. Just kiss me, baby, and tell me twice, like you're the one for me, the way you're making me feel. You're really turning me on. You knock me off of my feet, whoa, baby. My lonely days are gone. Hey, pretty baby with the high heels on, you give me fever like I never known. You're just a product of loveliness. I like the groove of your walk, your talk, your dress. I feel your fever from miles around. I pick you up in my car, we'll paint the town. Just kiss me, baby, and tell me twice, like you're the one for me, the way you're making me feel. You're really turning me on. You knocked me off of my feet. My lonely days are gone. One more time. The way you're making me feel, you're really turning me on. You knocked me off of my feet. My lonely days are gone, oh baby, yeah. Whoa! All right. This is the first time we did a virtual gala, and I had a lot of fun. Felt like I was doing a TV show.
So we have some fundraising totals. I want to be safe here.
Drum roll, please.
Okay, we are hitting $40,000 as we speak, so thank you so much. $40,000!
Until I get our goal. So please donate frequently. What do they say about voting in Chicago? Early and often.
Early and often.
Shouldn't make a joke about that.
Brad, say the total one more time. Yes, we are just hitting $40,000 as we speak, and we can't thank you all enough for making that possible under these crazy circumstances. So thank you so much.
1, 2, 3.